eventually tune tene dining ngatai separation of substances chuchino gawo ngatai chapter number 3 no halale. Chapter number 3. In our daily life, there are many instances when we notice a substance being separated from a mixture of material. Instances and an example as an in our daily life ngati jaktu e halal life e na tenga tam mangpo example mangpo thwano ka vena ngata separate separate jena so chano mix ena ni chalak chik khachik des to ta te vena ni phiana la ngata mangpo thons kya seteno जैसे कि tea leaves are separated from liquid with a strainer while preparing tea. Tena ngatai chai chua chingampo chai ngatai luma tsospo hala luma bo ngatai cha tsospo na po phea noklo taki ngata kore na mi chache don shlok pe na mi chache se fe hanale. Okay, grain is separated from stalk while harvesting. Milk or curd is churned to separate the butter. We gain cotton from separate it sits from the fiber. Tene ngatai grain ze na ngata nas halale. Nas pongati जैसे कि ngata jing is a skis to nakato jing I sai wa mina sai khane nas po ko zo phiano za harvest chu za ninga ta phiano setno tena chosla ngata ome nang na oma ya mana jue nang ni ngata mar phingches ina ka to churn chano churn jena shokches la za no hala churn chano setno ta I chama separate chano setinga ta method chicks tan teno so we can cotton from separate seeds from the fiber cotton e hala cotton bonga takazo thoba nozna fiber seeds yo no pa seeds na ne cotton bu is a phego sa kya to ta I chama ngata everyday life na separation techniques tan no perhaps you might have eaten salted dalia or poha. If you found that it had chilies in you may have carefully taken them out before eating. Ya mananga ta dalia nang poha zete ta ta choshi shi type shi gano galal tangi choschik zertong choshi ge nang ta zarang chante glef to nang ta chante nga za me zete chante nga ta phinga no pala te chosla dalia nang pohe nang nang ngati cha chos po chilis kun ngati phe no so te wang separation technique shi no halal separation knowledge na technique no so suppose you are given a basket containing mangoes and gawa and asked to separate them. Then suppose shoes hala man lo je shemana ngata tate spena bor ki khura mango shik kya am kya pura bucket gang am kya hala am nang yampo chi yot kya zana te bucket pena gawa yot kya fruits rong pangiska tet niska so phese I mango khorang so phase gawa khorang so phase se te je khampa ngata par palanga ta ezu zamina le khapa chuli na kushu nya po mix songs te nga ta bucket chicken ayut na chuli khosang khorang so phase kushu so khorang so phase der kan chosla hala what would you do tre khora chi chuen hala ranga phase de na chi chuen lo hala pick out one of the kind and place them to a separate container right tena ngati chocheno ya manangati tenang ni mango nang gawa ngis kenan ni mango so phin chacheseno ya manangai gawa ho phin checheno kawo chik pulu sano pata te separate char pahala tenna chosla kuluna kushu nang chuli ngis ka mix yot na to kushu changma do sawangi so phesta jena chuli khorang so songs ten kushu nang chuli so song ten pala seems easy but what if the material we want to separate are much smaller ta taksik time na tanga ta kushu nang chuli jespa chenmo choksugi no pala gawa nang mango spera tanga chenmo choksuno yu lamo choksorte no to ta kaltes ka to te sa chun zorgot na gawa nang mango man pa yang chalak chun rik zorgot na ten chi chu en jete no question test no ala imagine you are given glass of sand and salted with mix tanga ta thalba jina ta cha pura stress nele pema yung chumana pema nang chajik stress te tang stu kya khala glass shina tene khora phengin chira cha so phase peba so phase na impossible even think of separating salt from the mixture by hand picking jena ngata lakpa na po zo then na nginches ino azit ta khoete question test no lakpa ya po then nginche razino tene then ngera ma no so hala impossible no kanang ka thing na ma sana sa bonang thalba bonang cha des to na ka to cha jik te nang nge sai nang ne phing je na re nang re lau na ya pu nge na ma no sa to okay then ekhane nga ta figure tang to figure 3.2 ka ona butter phing che se nga ta chilo jo shocks te no churning ze no te wa chi za no le churning ze no okay activity first activity in column 1 table 3.1 are given a few process of separation. The purpose of separation and the way separated components are used is method mentioned in column 1 and 2 respectively. Tanga table jik tang stut kyak tebena separation in technique tang stut kyak lo. However, the information given in column 2 and 3 is jumped up. Can you match ta inani information e table bena information pura mix yo to jumbled up jana pura mix yo to ta ka use chano to kora separate train as it okay the process ta separation process separate iron from rice ngata rice na just na ta dor pingo sameda oto ngati separate stone from rice separate stone from the dor pink rice na te two components separate ka no chino te sta chino to separate two different but useful component to remove niska useful in stone na rice ngata useful in ali manok bala two component ma not useful bo ngati phecheno to remove impurities or harmful component to remove non useful component ta iwanang si chache sok dole also we throw away the solid component we throw away the impurities we use both the component we throw away the solid component ngata if solid component phangche ropa ta izo chache no churning milk to butter obtain butter ngata oma shwa mi dal oma shwa chingapu two different bangar useful component ngati pheches no hala man two different bang useful malam ngata tara wang thuano yampo butter bang ngata ko sano tene we use both the component niska use channels te ote third pona ya pura is mesh the column chuto separate tea leaves hala tea leaves na remove unuseful ta tea leaves pocha khol charte tini chapati unuseful somba te pinches throw away the impurities po throw chuche this is the separation techniques te tangs the nose okay can you match each process with the process that te match chus halal ngi color so ya po match chuna okay first pongati yellow halal separate rice from the zukchuna impurities harmful component hala chik po harmful no tene throw away the solid components no tene tasting ne churning milk butter nakato two useful component no pata ngata milk zu tara wa ngata use chache no kala tene use both component ngati izo match the column chuche sal tene tasting ne separate tea leaves na inang tene izuk chuste ngata chi chuches na match the column chuches ino satno sal okay so we see that both before we use a substance we need to separate harmful or non-useful substance that may be mixed with it sometimes we separate even useful component if we need to be them to be separately tene ngata teo thongs no ki ngata kaltes ka to mix songs to na tebe na ne harmful chalak po ngata noche chan bo ping sta no ngata migo shi chan bo so phe no lo par pala ngati phe janyang niska use char shi che no lo jese ngi ngata oma shroks te hala tar jo gyur testing ni tara shroks testing ni tara khorang alak se thungches mar khorang alak se jache se phe ngati phero phem ruple o chuk se te no son the substance to be separate may be particle of different size or material. These may be in any three states of matter, solid, liquid or gas. So, how do we separate substance mixed together if they have so many different properties? Tangata separate choices janbo chok ngata mathong pasang separate o iska inil doajik du drasena to adu kazo patashano doa khorang so jigot pasang hala ote pata song te pa inches da dras na rice na doa niska solid yote no but still te ngata pata chano pa ta iska malam ngata pheches chane chalak sama state changke na yut kyak na state na solid liquid gas na yong shiche no setan hala so te fya separate choices chane chalak sama ngata different properties you are no setan Okay, method of separation. Tangata separate choches method pongati silches nokson. We will discuss some simple method of separating substances that are mixed together. You may come across some these methods that being used day to day activities. जैसे कि first pongata hand picking. Hand lagu na po pick choches khat khurches hand picking. Activity 2 no kala. Bring a pocket of food grain purchased from the shop to the classroom. Now spread the grain on a sheet of paper. Do you find any one kind of grain on the sheet paper, or are there pieces of stone, husk, broken grain, and particles of other grain in it? Now remove with your hand the pieces of stone, husk, and other grain from it. Tangata chizit no na iwena tangata shop ni kyongkan zit tupat ma ngata jing kan ni kyongkan nas po chapsila ngata ngaspa chilo khuyus tang chate ngapsa pura chu chot charte sini nas na sa bing charte sini tenge nas po lawina chik nen lo la khurte nang tene ngata paper ji ka tong lo tate we na te nas pe na chi yut kyak na te nas pe na phungma yut kyal doa chun ri yut kyak tene yang chalak rang yut kya khala has khora na paks par chok yang lips yut kyak te chama ngata ka zo pen lawunya po zo zo pen mi feli nas pokorang so so pages to also to the process for this method of hand picking can be used for separating slightly larger size impurities like piece of dirt, stone husk from the wheat, rice or pulses. Ata dress choice ang lang ati chamena ikane nas do chilo dress choice ang lang ikal do mino touches to sala otok ngata hand picking chung ente no so to hand picking method ching no separation method first method po hand picking song to no lagu kono tentis. The quantity of such impurities is usually not very large. In such situation, we find that hand picking is convenient method of separating substance. That's of time because ngati teo itu just hand picking la kurang ya po ini imi wituk sudah stalches po la kurang ya po itu lakmo choches po some best method do some scarce to. There's in the next imi vichi just not listen na iput awe hand picking stone from the grain na hala nas kune na dori yun nakato teo salte no hala down is a pings no okay testing the next step threshing. Step number second hala there was no threshing. You must have seen bundle of wheat or paddy stalk lying in the field after harvesting the crop. Gomate changme jo zeri sangala iwa threshing zero in naksha do naksha threshing zano te ngati chilo nas nang phum te isu gamira nas po chilo nas po separate churches po hala te process po I process po threshing zero no so te ngata in dole bundle of wheat po ngata pura scampo tos po khute ya mana paddy field po khute hor harvest cho system ni stock hala जैसे कि इन नास इन नकातो नास ना कोई खाने साया so pegos pa te nas na so peche se fe te process pa cheese no na threshing zeno stalks are dried gomata I utek skamche se fe bordale chap testing so phema pa tek skamala bora no khala dried in the sun before grain is separated from them. Each stalk has many grain seed attached to it. Imagine the number of grain seed in hundred of the bundle of stalk lying in the field. How does the farmer separate the grain? Tene ngata te so man hundreds of grain yut kyak se no stalks na hala te stock ready na hundred you na kazo kazo pain zete te imagine ji question tikan just no so okay one may pluck mangoes or guavas from trees tangata gawa indo yamana mango indo yamana apple indo te sama ngata chame khane zo re phuda no pa but grain bo kawo isuk chuste izo chilo nase chilo lakchuk zenak ta grain isu nase stock rede kha mane 100 or 50 grain regona kazo rede na rede kazo thenin zete question tiste no sane but grain are much smaller than mangoes chezena chune no pa so plucking the chak thenches them is hala plucking them from the stalk would be impossible. How does one separate the grain from the stalk? Then kazo anga ta phe no sutano. The process that we use separate grain from the stalk is called threshing. The process panga ta chi zanolo threshing zanolo tanga ta process ngi silsar halale hand picking ang silsar threshing ang silsar. In this process, the stalker are beaten to free the grain. The process na ngati chi chono zna zol duan no setno. Te mana ngata berkar kurte dung duale. Te mana ngata te khatwa da sata machine khoste na pura te machine mena tang stang dukpa. Manga te mani process pe nang jina chi chono zna pura te khatwa ngata ngalta dul ko chukche sia mana ngata izuk chilo zo dul chukche sala ozo dul chuan ming nang ata kir khore dular chi fe enok le ta ki khato ge nas kun yoga buden tene khato a phungma lusen hala ta ive khane pural dap do hal dap pa no so te process po chi zanok le na threshing zan. Okay, threshing is done with the help of bullock. Machines are also used to thresh large quantities of grain. Dang din ta ta time merak zerkan chuste te fia machines guna use no. Okay, testing yang process number 3 no kawa separation chuches separate so chuches hala winnowing zano chinole winnowing zano. Okay, make a mixture of dry sand with sawdust, powder, dry leaves. Keep the mixture on a plate or a newspaper. Look at the mixture carefully. Can the two different components be made up of easily? Are the size of the particle of the two components smaller? Would it be possible to separate the component by hand picking? Tate uzete no ngatai loma ri khonglo ala loma ri chori mangpo khonglo tera thalba ri chori so das thalba chori tonglo teo thalba ta chik newspaper ri kha zo bor hala tes tastena ta lagu no ya po so chun jena teo inches dualo inches mi rok session hala size chun duk mi ra jeno hala size chun duk hala even ki das nang te angate rice nang dwa chun mix yot kane sang chun sok pura mix sok song su kya hala teo chun duk tene tan nga ti chi chun jena. Now take your mixture to an open ground, stand and raise the platform. Koma use re sangala diagram basto siale ya ne voi chi chus tu ine pura nyampo mixture bu khons na tene pura ground jikha duks pa tene yoga jadar sok things ba tene izo i urt charwale has pun hala nas pa ngata saf chuz ane o chos churwale o to zetro tate o chos chuz zetro. Now take your mixture to the open ground, stand on the rice protection thonporia tuk. Put the mixture in a plate or a sheet paper. Hold the plate or sheet of the paper containing the shoulder height. Pura is shoulder pung spa hala pung spa tek chok she borte tene tilt na chek shi band chus no you band chus bo chuk to it slightly so that the mixture slides slowly kula pura phok ma ta jis kula is a butchuk no. What happened? Do both the component sand and soda or the powdered leaves fall at the same place jaga chik butua zetno hala is the component that blows away then component chirigot kan tel kata ka budano yoga khatang bo ka budano ka chit chan rigo to khatang bo budano yang mori chori yang thalbari chori yang te kane spuri chori go ta ya baranga ta chi shok phumari chori go na te so piano biano oto hala. Okay, biano so blows away. Did the wind manage to separate the component? Ta even zaning ata lose po yung shis kakchano te fe si zentang do si zete gata chi chono na lose po bot kan chono hala. This method tate method pa chi zano lo separating component of mixture is called winnowing. Cheza wind ra mera wind ya yut no wind hala lose po ngata hap ches hala. Winnowing is used to separate heavier and lighter component. Chik po in nas po heavy no ibo has po lighter component no heavy and light ching mix song to na winnowing chung in chen no setno hala. Okay, by wind. Okay, of a mixture by wind or by blowing air. Ya mana ngatai chi just lose po tangste ngatai separate chuches setno son. Okay, this method is commonly used by farmers to separate lighter house particle from the seed or grain. Ngata nas thoba chingya po nas ta ngata nas po izuk chos kyak chilo ngan me time ka yun process gun ma yushon hol ta sa ta mate machine yushon pa tene ta pura ngata nas po separate chos kyak chi chos na threshing chos ta threshing cho na ngata te na ne chabi nas na nya po ngata phungma ri chori yot kyak te bo ngati process po winnowing ya po ngati te complete journals to so pan of the husk husk zana chi zano na pakspa type zetu hala te chun na ngata pakspa ri chori ga mi dale The husk particles are carried away by wind. The seed of the grain gets separated from the heap near the platform for winnowing. The separated husk is used for many purposes such as fodder to the cattle. Then ibo nga ta phungma chospu chief use chana fodder yula cattle kuna te bumbu balang bumbu choskuna nga ta chilo khoda kharji chosla ta no zatno. Then ibo nga ta grain hala grain nga ta nas ka ta goshis te hala. Okay, test tini nga ta sieving yang process chiching dokta nga ta process tam jik sil sarjana go ma hand picking sills then threshing sills then winnowing sills test tini ta next and sieving hala sieving cheze doksten. Sometimes we may wish to prepare a dish with flour. We need to remove impurities and bran from that may be present in it. Ta par palanga ta chi chungin do noksen na nga ta kharji jik tu shi chungin do no kha nga ta pakpe na ya po chuen zero floors and a pakpe chasla zero khala ta nga ta pakpe na po chun ta nga ta pakpe chue sang ngala pakpe rui sang ngala chi chano nga ta chi chano le nga ta remove impurities and bran that may be present in it. Tena nga ta impurities chi rigot na ta nga ta sokpo rikte pakpe bena chi rigot na phetsak khud chak duale chak ches pa jano sieve. What do? We use sieve and pour the flour into it. Sieving ini duale ta nga ta sieving nge sha de sanga lai khane naksha tangs de duale khoi phetsak khud tangs de ni khoi chak dual tewa process pa sieving zera no khala. Sieving allow sieving to hele. Sieving allows the fine flour particle to pass through the hole of the sieve while the bigger impurities remain on the sieve khurika phetsak chakches khurika lusa no stoktewa sieving zero. In a flour mill, impurities like husk, stone are removed from the wheat before grinding it. Usually a big full of wheat is poured on the slitting sleeve. The sieving removes piece of stone, stalk and husks that may still remain in the wheat after threshing and winnowing. Threshing chose the winnowing chose the sting yang tenang tangata pakpe pura te lakmu machayut na te sieve chuste sieving chuste do chakste ngati yushwan oxto. You may have also noticed similar sieving being used in construction site ngata last chuzane construction chuzane khangpar 6 zane yamana chi 6 zana ngata is sieving bu use chola thongsker zro. Pebbles and stone are removed from the sand by sieving. Tene pebbles dwarit zoro na te so ngata cement ta sangalla payment anel dwa chenmo rizzo na phela sieving process use chosto no halat iska chos no process niska sieving zestro ma yuna chenmo use chon na cha chilo chak po chun use chosto no. Okay hagwale so activity 4 bena use chosto no yang activity jiduk. Bring a sieve and small quantity of flour from the home to the class. Sieve the flour to separate any impurities in it. Now make a fine powder of chalk piece and mix it with the flour. Can we separate the flour and the powder chalk by sieving? Tang nge chi chos kyak na nge pak pe khons kyak te ne pe chak shen khons kyak class na halal. Class na khons te nge pura chak kyak. Chak sting ne tang nge chi chos kyak na chalk powder tang kyak ta te bena. Chalk powder hele pieces of powder of chalk tangska tene ngai pakpe na chalk ponga ta so pe nginches inozena tanga te sakslang nginches mano setro. Sieving is used when sieving nam mixture sieving component namji component of mixture have different size so yut na tene sieving zen chung na nok mala chak na nok tange pakpe na phe stress tang na te chak ngen chi ragale ngena mano halat. Okay tene sedimentation desensitization and filtration. Sedimentation, desensitization and filtration it's a process in separate technique in a process. Sometimes it may not be possible to separate component of mixture by winnowing hand picking. For example, there may be lighter impurities like dust or soil particle in rice or pulses. How are such impurities separated from rice or pulses before cooking? Tangata kazwa yang teo man pa threshing winnowing man pa yang ngata rice nang pulses kunna yang impurities yo no so to ngati kazwa ngati separate chu injet no tangata hand pick just kakte tenang do pings kakte nang ngata yo ano tenang dust dun tong lakmo ma cha yut ka khala te chi chu injet na rice or pulses are usually washed then dole ikata wash chuches na then chuches before cooking. When you add water to this, impurities like dust particles get separated. Chuchik ta chinga po sokpo sama khato al dings de ongda otewa jano khalan separate channels. These impurities go to water. Now what will sink to the bottom of the vessel, rice or dust? Why? Have you seen the vessels it tilted to pour the dirty water? Tena ngatai dust ngati choza na khala dress amali ngune dress chu achinga po tena ngata dress na chu goma dress chu sangala tu anokba tu achinga po chu jik chik ta sa chai pura hop posta makba kule phin porwale taki khatoga jamjik sokpo khatoga impurities sama khatoga yongstot teo buches se hala. When the heavier component in a mixture settles after eating water is called sedimentation. The process pachi zanosana sedimentation namjik tangata heavy zena like chit mangpo kan bo yogal chuna ko yogal dingen teneyang kabo chit nyunyut malap ki weight nyunyut kan changma khato asong te tenete khato teo phona teo process pachi zanosana sedimentation zano. Sedimentation khorang bachi process puchi nok le zena yang nyun yang goman zena sedimentation zena chi zanok zena when namjik the heavier component in a water mixture settles in water is added to it and the process is called sedimentation. The process for water add just the heavy component bo yoga song the light component bo khampo ayon khato ayon na tenna process for sedimentation zano hala. When the water along with the dust is removed, the process is called tenete sediment song ta namjik tanga exercise ton ta ko chuwe na dust bo yoga dingste sa kun thalba chon khato adingna te process for sedimentation zano tene te khato ga sa cho thalba cho yang mo changma ping na po na ta tel chos te tabik shik shkyo rapporte zambu uzo shkyo rapporte tel chos te na te wa zano desensitization desensitization zano hawale te. Let us find a few other mixtures that can be separated through sedimentation and desensitization. The same principle is used for separating a mixture of two liquids that do not mix with each other. Then e process po sedimentation and desensitization bo ngatai yang tukshi process ang used to ngenche no namjik two liquids na liquid hawale kawa fluids and okay te fluid mix macha ganjik nati pheche se. For example, oil and water from the mixture can be separated by this process. If a mixture of such liquid is allowed to stand for some time, they form two separate layers. The component that form at the top layer can be separated by desensitization. Tangata ini chuwe nangata oil yama nangata chiyong skyak tuk shiyong skyak khala chuwe na. Tene I khato al things te duwa kya inches I wang liquid in kya khala. Tene ngata kulea til judging po inayni inang te ezuk po kabo I blue substance po I na so patching po te process pa desensitization zano. She's anole desensitization zano kawale. The process korang ba ngati cheese no desensitization zano kawale. Okay. Dole. The process pa ngati cheese desensitization. Separating of two component of mixture. Tate ngata nam chungin chenong tizra namjik chujing na norte ngati chujina pura iso mar looks tang na yang na margin chu looks tang ko niska pat mix chama ko yal ma cha chiga po so pheche se fe sabi shizuk chus sabi shi goba duk chuk chus mane settle cha chuk settle song tera khato a khorang ding char testing ni tene iso a separate chus hala chi process po desensitization set hala. Okay, testing ni okay. Let us again consider a mixture of solid and liquid. Tangata solid and liquid ching mix yut kan jik tok shingata teo consider choose lo hala. After preparing tea, what do you do to remove the tea leaf? Cha chose this thing ni cha so chose se cha na chai patti cha ka dot teo na te chai patti lo maun so chose se chi chuat lo. Usually we use strainers na ta cha chak la zitro STAINER strainers na cha chak zitro. Remove tea leaves. Try desensitization. It helps a little. Strainer mani men na cha chak mani men na ta kulea tanganwa. They are used channel desensitization desensitization and also it helps a little. But do you still get a few leaves in your tea? Now pour the tea through a strainer did all the leaves remain in the strainer solution the process purchase and also filtration tangata process steps possible first pongata hand picking silk winnowing silk threshing silk tenengata silk tenengata chi silk threshing silk sedimentation silk desensitization silk filtration which method of the separating tea leaf from the prepared tea is better? Desensitization bo easy in the filtration bolde mondra malab lakmo chuste use chuche sefia ati filtration bo use chuche mira okay, let us now consider the example of water that we use to all of us at all time get safe water to drink. Then example jingnen ki katang changmala chu karo chanang chu safe thoban razdo. Sometimes we supplies water supplied through taps but muddy. The water collections from the pond river may also be muddy, especially after rain. They charpa tangsis thing ni ata tokpe nang ne chuthwar do yure nang ne chuthwar te sama sabik saku type shigon chen no satun hala. Let us see if we can use some method to separate. Te sabik shik thalba chok muddy type yut na hala. तेव्हा ती सक्कू जमी दाते मतलब की जब शिक थलबा जस्ट चोक शिगोत ना तेने तेज जाने separation technique po kazu she hala separation to remove insoluble impurities like soil from water ngati kazu phingen lo so chen lo insoluble jana des mi des kan jano hele mix song to kyak ma des ne mi kyak soluble song te mi kyak des ma desa o ekhane thalba dug ya mana izu dug sen so ashe sat o to kazu phingen jete then activity 5 just okay. Collect some muddy water from pond and or river. If it is not available, mix some soil or water. Ngata pond ya mana river rikhane ngada muddy water rikholo. Tanga muddy water thoba minung zina teng chi chuslo zina ngata chuji na ngata soil ri thalbek zabi shi top lo malap thalbek zabi shi tangs de bo tong lo glass na chuik tangs tan na thalba tong lo. Tangate wo chi fecho to experiment chuches fe halal. Let it stain for half an hour. Zai shi ngata fecho to shi borlo. Observe the water carefully and note your observation. Kazuk shik to water tachi gyur to slow. Does some soil settle at the bottom of the water? Why will you call this process? Khachik soil hala soil tangatai tangskyak ngalla thalba tangskyak tangsesting ni pat e shuk mashu ati gomata shuk skyak testene mi ganta phechi to semane mashu bortong lo. Tere chi charug lo now slightly tene chi tong so sek charo chaminuk chana chi charug se the question test no now slightly tilt the water without disturbing the water pura nyok ma nyoka kule ngatai tilt just as a ichilo is a I ngati glass in nakato glass mo ngati ka zai shigzuk just tilt just lo hala is a in a ta kule tong lo in tilt just no kule tong lo. Okay, let the water from the top flow into the another glass. What will you call this process? Kulea is just lo. The process lo. Is the water in the second glass still muddy or brown in color? Now filter or did the tea stir? Let us try the filter through a piece of cloth. If in a piece of cloth, small holes or pores remain in between the woven thread. These pores in a cloth can be used as a filter. Filter is so use chewing and cheno ngata piece of cloth ang chewing and cheno sto. Ta dakseng ngata glass na ni chuyu nyu dik tong malale. Te glass na ni chuyu tang zana te process per chino zana desensitization no desensitization no hala. Okay, if the water is still muddy, impurities can be separated by filter that can even smaller poles mana tenang muddy yotna mana tenang pura sokpo type yotna tenenga type filter paper use choches no chungin chino filter paper is one such filter that have very fine pores mane byang new nik mani yama no khala show the steps involved in using filter paper. A filter paper folded from the cone is fixed into the iso kazu a fold choose and collapse no khala. Okay, the mixture is then poured in the filter paper, solid particles of the mixture do not pass through it and remain on the filter paper. Tenangati filter paper e khalusa no to solid part ponga ta chi chamanolo yo abuda mano filter paper e khalusa no to. Fruits and vegetable juice are usually filtered by drinking to separate the seeds and solid particles of pulp. Fruits nang vegetables ami juice thunga chiga poto cha filter cha no. The method of filtration is also used in the process of preparing cottage cheese, paneer or tenga ta chilo jo rik chilo ngata tara skol te tenga de chura rik ping zane filtration process use bala. You might have seen that for making paneer a few drops of lemon juice is added to milk and it boiled. These give the mixture of particle of solid paneer and liquid. The paneer is then separated by filtering the mixture through the fine cloth mane ngati izuru pora minale ras use shamri te process pa filtration zano. Okay, this thing ngata process chik no evaporation are separate separate choose method technique ring no. Okay hala. So evaporation activity 6 na add 2 spoons of salt to water in another beaker and stir it well. Then ngata chuji na ngata chi tonglo salt na cha hala cha ngata 2 spoon tonglo tangs pasang then can any changes in the color of the water na change so lo chano chamin to cheno kal. Can you see any salt in the beaker man beaker na cha tangs te yotik duzane zo tho tas te chano pata chano chamano halal. After stirring it just the mala fruits testing ne heat the beaker containing salt water, let the water boil away with and what is left purra khol chuk zeton ta chubo mana kholen duk chuk mane thim chuk zetano thim chuk na pura vapor gyur chugi pura chu mane kholte mane metkan cha chuk then chi lusa nok jano te luskan boga te chi nok jana cha lusa hala. In this activity we use the process of evaporation. The mixture the separate to separate a mixture of salt and water bo mix bo separate chola ka process use chano jana evaporation process use chano. The process is process of conversion of water into its vapor is called evaporation. Chu hala chubo nani vapor chubo vapor sos like gyul chukna tewa janok tewa evaporation janos to. The process of evaporation take place continuously everywhere wherever water is present. Chu karayot na tera evaporation chen do anos to skang chat kala. Where do you think salt come from? Tsaka ni ostro samaro hala taksa tsaka ni ostro ni question jikta na kado tsaki cha na ostro kichana na kana ostro hatino that main khorang ka ni ostro zan question jikuna. Sea water contains many salt mix in it. Chu si gam choi na chu yut kan changma salty on hala salty on. One of these salt is common salt. Then on a salt chik common sono common sun jana ngati ka ngati dang di ngata usually that cha khajina tang cha oto jano. When seawater is allowed to stand and shallow pits, water gets heated by sunlight and slowly turned into water vapor through evaporation. In these few days the water evaporates completely, leaving behind the solid salt po loose chat kya chu pura thim chat kya te thama side kunni hala te choi jana ta te gam choi hala chu pura choi na ni I chu pura vapor gyurpa tene cha mani lusa met kya salt pulus pa tene te salt po use chat kya. Common salt is then obtained from mixture of salt by the further purification. Yang test na saf chos chos tene nga tai chon ini dole khaspo yu chui jagan kya son chui jagan pasan ta nga tai ina chu mane dal yang time ji khale wa me kya males pasan ika chu yot kan khak chilo khat yot kan chu changma chi chat kya vapor lo gyur te chat kya chi chat kya vapor la gyur te chat kya vapor jena khaslang chos la gyur kya khaslang a gyur pasan tene khaslang a gyur pasan chi lu sat kya le jena salt pulu sat kya hala salt pulu sat kya sat. Okay, this thing ne nga tan duk le use of more than one method of separation. one method tanga ta hagotono method chikchigi manpa method ni sumji use chife use we have studied some method for separating of substance from their mixture. Often one method is not sufficient to separate the different substance present in a mixture. In such a situation we need to use more than one method. Tanga ta par palanga ta method phalanji use choste mani ka nga ta chala question te thoba mi khala method so use go sa gas to separate chala. Okay, take a mixture of sand and salt. How we will separate this? Tanyo ne sand na salt jikka zo separate chen lo sand thalba jigna matai cha jikka zo separate chen te question lo. We already saw that hand picking would not be practical method for separating these. The manenge laguna ya pothena jana no, this is impossible. Just mano kala. Keep this mixture in a beaker and add some water to it. Then mixture ka we na ta thalba na changis ka destot teo beaker jina bor te na ta chujik lo. Leave the beaker, add it for some time. Do you see that sand settled down at the bottom? Sand bo settled chacheno kata ta I okay ina miru khala tange ina chuske sand plus salt plus water pura mix chus kya khala beaker jina tere nga ta check sheet sting ni bora chingya po nga ta teo thons kya ki thalba pura yoga song to kya chu khato ay kya ta thalba yoga song to kya le taksa thalba mane me kya. The sand can be separated by desensitization or filtration. Tere khane yamana filter chuches yamana desensitize chuches khas po nga ta mixture bo sand plus chut kya ngatila sand plus salt chut kya khale tengis ka mix kya tate ozo mix bo phe maingen pasang chu tans kya tene chu tans pasang thalba chos bo yoga lus kya tene chu bo khorang so phes kya hala yamana chai shi tilt shows the phes kya mana filter sa stans the phes kya. What does this desensitized liquid contain? Descented liquid content. Do you think the water contains salt tate chubena which there is in the mixture of the beginning? Now we separate salt and water from this desensitized liquid. Transfer this liquid in the kettle atai chilo izukshina borlo transfer chuslo I chilo thawujina. Close it to the lid. Heat that kettle for some time. Do you notice steam coming from the sprout of the nettle? Take the metal plate or some ice on hold the plate that you is another ngata cha so na khol chuk stang na tenna bikar bokorang ka bena chu methala chu chikpo mane met te khol chuk na diste no ta even a young process shik stan jese koshish chus no khele goma khoi chu na cha bo khol chuk ska khol chu chinga po I plate pe khato anga ta ice in kya ice ta I mena ni khaslang phon te I ice pe jaste tangmo chano ta ibo tangmo cha chinga bo chu liquid gyura kya hale I khaslang vapor bo chikir kya vapor to liquid gyura kya hala o to process potlan chino te mani nga di process pena chanang chilo chanang izukpo so cho ngen tro hala ina zo ngen tro. Okay, take a metal plate on the some ice on it. Hold the plate just above the sprout of the spout when a come choose it kettle and shown in the cow in it tante to khala to choslo. What do you observe? Let all the water in the kettle boil of purra khol borlo. When the steam comes in contact with the metal plate cooled with ice, it condenses and form liquid. Then a namjiko water chilo vapor water vapor chos kurat then e cool chanolo cool jana tangmo chanolo hala you pura tangmo song pasang then chi do ta kya sana you vapor bo tangmo song pasang ika tangmo yot pasang then liquid do ta kya to ta no liquid water. The water drops that you observe falling from the plate were due to condensation of steam. The process of conversion of water vapor into the liquid form is called condensation. The process pachi janolo condensation janolo. Do you ever see water drops condense under the plate that has been used to cover vessel containing milk and it has just been boiled? Drops of water kabo under plate yo ayu kanbo chilo vapor bo water gyur tokzar water chu water vapor bo water gyur kan bo pata sonsa zetno hala or the vessel. Okay, after all the water has evaporated, what left behind in the kettle? Kettle na chilo sanole salt halal. We have this separated salt, sand, and water using process of komada desensitization, filtration, evaporation, and condensation. Condensation bo you choose ke khayli chu korang yang loste ngada chu korang loste gosa zete nokta tezi zane hala topste nok kuma changka mix choose ke tenane changma so paste ke by process of desensitization nam use choose ke namjik chanang chu res kan bo thalba na po pheches thalba be ching po teni filter ang thalba pheches fya tese evaporation namjik chana chubo pheches fya condensation namjik vapor bo china gyush fya chuna gyush fya pehli faced a problem while recovering salt mixed with sand. She mixed a packet of salt in a small amount of sand. She then tried the method by suggesting activity 7 to recover the salts. She found, however, that she could not recover any a small part of salt that she had taken. What could that gone wrong? Ta khoi changu jignin ke halala pehli zerkar ma tangyang chuin hala sam kan mix chuin sam kan jigong skak ma khoi man chabo nyu ni men ke small amount of okay she had mixed a packet of salt mane chabo phalan packet gang tena thalba nyu jignin kya she then tried to tena takse method po choche se koshish kya ngena noaz kya hala what could have gone wrong then she sonte those the question test no can water dissolve any amount of substance the chuwena mane cham ngati cha tangla diganwa yamana chuwena cham ngati khara tangla diganwa azito tangye chu glass ga na khara buri gang yo tangna diganwa alta chu khorang tor chanwa khara bena just imagine chu skinge in a cup gang mani chu mit ke khala cup phet mani nge tang ke cup do inna cho cup do cha tang ke ina then obviously dissolve chachao mintek chajiro bala. In the chapter we found that many substances dissolve in water and form solution. We say these substances are soluble in water. Namjik obviously ngati chuwena ta chamach do ngati chatang na ta alak spirano. Nge korang mani chisho bucket gang ritso yamana nge pura tinna chisho cup do ritso chatang stang na ina isu cup gang bena. What will happen if we going adding more and more to this substance to fix quantity of the water? Okay, the question test okay. Okay, you will need a beaker or a pan of paper, a spoon, salt water. Pour half a cup of water in a beaker. Beaker na half cup of water tonglo. Add 1 tablespoon of salt and stir it well until the salt dissolves completely. Again, add teaspoon of salt and stir well. Go on adding salt and teaspoon and time and stir. After adding a few spoon of salt, do you find that some salt remain undissolved and settled at the bottom of the beaker? Makachik mane pura ta mana dissolved machal loose teo da thon duazito. Yes, this means that the no more salt can be dissolved in the amount of water we have taken. The solution is not called saturated. Mane izuk just na ngate beaker jina kharat yamana chazra chata en chungke khalal taine izu shoga chungke tanga ta jung rete thos kya ki tapane chama dissolve ma cha ira lose tu tinna time because saturated zano tip time because chizano saturated ta no more salt can be added shamana ma ta mang pu just miruk here it is hint as to what might have gone wrong with Pahali train to recover large quantity of salt mixed with sand. Perhaps the quantity of salt as much more than required to form a saturated solution. The undissolved salt that dissolved would have remained mixed with the sand could not be recovered. She could solve her problem by using large quantity of water. Te jane pahli be mal chu mak potang goste no chamang posong tu na chuma re yong was the also. Suppose she did not have sufficient quantity of water to dissolve all the salt in the mixture. Is there some way that water could be dissolved more salt before the solution could saturated? Tate na na yak sa tarong maju duk zera tere ngati parpala chichano parpala yang jalak shik chuano pachu ches chuano hala te chichu enzi na question jitis no hala okay te chichu rutsune. Take some water or beaker and mix salt in it and cannot dissolve any more salt. Mane beaker jina ngata glass jina cha chutong lo tene ta cha ta an shugan obviously go mata dissolve song te pura met kan chano ta te zuk chai tong mala ta induk nam ji cha man yok pa kha loosen cha bik shi loosen this will give you a saturated solution ta te jane nga te saturated solution. Now add small quantity of salt to the saturated solution and heat tene nga te heat chuches ta ina process pena chino heat chuches nam jik mane tarung zo cha mena tene nga ta scald tances. What do you find? What happens to the undissolved salt at the bottom of the beaker? Beaker e juga yang chai shik cha yut kan ba chi song stan dari nga cham shuk nang cha mir kun magar chap heat tangs pa chi tangs pa heat tangs pa cold pa sang tene te o dissolve cha kya. Does it dissolve? Now yes. If yes, can some more salt can be added to yang ma chaj tang nge chis as the question tang no. Let this hot solution cool. Does the salt paper appears to settle at the bottom of the beaker again? Yang sting ni chai tang mo chaj nga bu yang yoga bab dos tha bab dos tos lo. The activity suggests that larger quantities of salt can be dissolved in water on heating. Chu na cha marik nam tang nge na namjik tonmo chana iska mala chu tonmo wena cha man dissolve chachis no halat. Does water dissolve equal amount of different soluble substance? Let us find out. Okay, so take 2 glass and pour half a cup of water in each of them. Glass ngis lelno tene ngata glass po danda tene taste in half of water dendo. Add a teaspoon of salt in one glass and in a one glass bina glass number 1 bina 1 teaspoon ngata salt tong lo salt ngata add jos lo. Okay, go on adding salt 1 teaspoon at time till the solution saturated. Nam ji chupik solution saturate migur male ika loose tete chupik add chen duglo. Record the number of spoon that salt dissolve that maybe just 3 number of spoon bongati dissolve song te record choslo. Now repeat the same activity with sugar. Tangata ika sugar use choslo sugar use choste yang same activity in a spoon in a tong lo ten nam to be dissolved samuk teos lo. Repeat with this same number other substance and all are soluble in water kabo soluble in the water na soluble chi chat na te zo samanya po ngata o zo add train song lo. What do you notice at table 2 hala it at table 3.2 na chi notice chanoglo? Do you find that water dissolve different substance in different amount? In a table in a table 3 salt goes and 3 spoon of salt goes and you want some spoon of sugar goes and maybe 2 goes and tasting the saturation you want maybe 1 goes and hala those low. Okay, we have discussed a few methods of separating substance. Some of the method of separation present in this chapter are also used in science laboratory na usual. We also learned that a solution is prepared by dissolving substance in a liquid. Teo taski solution jigzer kan bo ngati substance hala substance liquid na chalak shik ta jinga po teo solution gyutuk zekan ngata teo pata songs lo hala liquid no. So a solution is said to be saturated if it cannot dissolve more substance. Ta more substance tang isang mang por dissolve cho mayana te solution bachi zanolo saturated zanolo. Tangata chirik sil to te keywords konstana churning zera structures la zan hala the condensation zena ngatai vapor po ngati liquid na gyur chukches process po ngati use ma just like catalytic te azam condensation halale kavena ni particle sangma free yot kan sama chek solid chak gyur chukches mala vapor free no pa free utpa freely move particle jo ma tang mo chik chua chiga bo hala chek tang mo ja na te condensation so te no malab jik chiro chu jik te kyak chuks na tang mo freezer na tang na condensation chus to no okay so the freezing just no ma the condensation process na descentation decentation zena ka vena nga type chik khatok ni nga ta so separate juices evaporation zena nga ta khaslang so juices filtration zena ha go hala filter juices hand picking law ya potential saturated solution zena namjik ngati chu jina cha tang skep jap tak khoi dissolve chen hala te dissolve chachas ban chana te na ko saturated gul te solution bo sedimentation zena namjik chilo dashig nanga tai dashig chun dashig na yang khoi sokpo substance rigot na to thalbarik zorot na to teni chuji na tang na das bo yoga bab na malab ki heavy particles ya mara heavy substance bo yoga di anna teni light substance bo khato achana sedimentation zeno sieving zena nga ta cha chilo chakches phetsak khut jokste khut just solutions and namjik solutions and chanang water mixture so yamana sugar na water mixture ba solutions and thrashing zena ta is nas bo pinches has kana winnowing zena ta izuk churches chilo winnowing zena ta lungspo yong chukste nga ta tene nga ta separation technique ba winnowing zeta no hala okay thank you